Hello dear students, today our topic of deliberation is Dayabaga Hindu School, formation and incident under the coparcenary property under Dayabaga. The basic aim of this lecture is to discuss coparcenary under the Dayabaga School, classification of property and position of Karta under Dayabaga School of Hindu law. In modern Hindu law, the joint family is the major area where two schools of Hindu law have significance. This has been an accepted proposition that every Hindu family is presumed to be a joint family. The presumption is that the members of a Hindu family are living in a state of jointness, unless contrary is proved. Hindu family is presumably joint in food, worship and estate. Although normally a joint family is joint in food, worship and estate, yet if it is not joint in food, worship and in estate or in any one or all of them, it does not necessarily imply that it has ceased to be a joint family. There is no presumption that joint family possesses joint property. It has been seen that normally a Hindu joint family is joint in estate, but there is no presumption that the properties held by a member of joint family are joint family properties. Coparcenary. Coparceners are two or more persons who jointly inherit property wherever they have unity of possession. There is no survivorship. Each takes an undivided share which on his or her death goes to his or her heir. The co-heirs and their heirs are called coparceners so long as unity of possession continues. Under Dayabaga school of law, the foundation of coparcenary is laid on the death of the father. So long as the father is alive, there is no coparcenary in the strict sense of the word between him and his male issue. It is only on his death, leaving two or more male issues, that a coparcenary is first formed. His male issues then inherit his property, separate as well as ancestral, as his heirs, but as between them they hold it as coparceners, and the property inherited from the deceased is coparcenary property. On the death of any one of the coparceners, his heirs succeed to his share in the coparcenary property, and they become members of the coparcenary. Such heirs, in default of male issues, may be his widow or his daughters. These two, though females, get into the coparcenary, representing the same share of their husband or father as the case may be. A coparcener under the Dayabaga law may consist of males as well as females. The formation of a coparcenary does not depend upon any act of parties. It is the creation of law. It is formed spontaneously on the death of the ancestor. It may be dissolved immediately afterwards by partition, but until then the heirs hold the property as coparceners. Under Dayabaga school, apparently a joint family may come into existence in the same way as under the Mitakshara school. But the fact of the matter is that there is no joint family under the Dayabaga school as it exists under the Mitakshara school. Sons have no right by birth. There is no coparcenary consisting of father, son, son's son and son's son's son. A Dayabaga coparcenary comes into existence for the first time on the death of the father. When sons inherit their father's property, they constitute a coparcenary. On the death of the father, the succession is per sterbs. That is, branch of each of his son takes an equal share. But this does not mean that the share on succession belongs to each branch. When an heir takes property by succession, his male or female descendants have no right in it and the heir takes it absolutely. But if the son is dead, leaving behind a son, then that son, by representation, will take the same share which their father would have taken. When sons inherit property jointly and constitute a co-partnership, on the death of any one of them, his heir will succeed to the property. And if a son dies leaving behind a widow or daughter, then she will succeed and become a co-partner. Thus, under Dayabhaga school, a female can also be a co-partner. For instance, there is a joint family consisting of A, that's father, and his sons B, C and D. On the death of A, his sons B, C and D constitute a co-partnership. If B dies leaving a widow, BW, and C dies leaving behind a daughter, that is CD, then the co-partnership will consist of BW, CD and D. However, even under the Dayabhaga school, there cannot be a co-partnership consisting exclusively of females. Thus, if D dies leaving behind a daughter, that is DD, then there cannot be a co-partnership consisting of BW, CD and DD. Similarly, under the Dayabhaga school, a co-partnership cannot start with females. Thus, if a male dies leaving behind widow or two daughters, they will succeed to his property but will not constitute a co-partnership. Unlike the Mitakshara co-partner, a Dayabhaga co-partner takes a specified and fixed share on the death of his ancestor. It is not a fluctuating and uncertain interest. This means that in Dayabhaga co-partnership, there is no community of interest. For instance, A, the father dies leaving behind three sons, B, C and D. B, C and D each will inherit 1/3 of properties. The 1/3 share of each co-partner is a fixed and certain share. It will not fluctuate on the death or birth of any person in the co-partnership. So long as B, C and D are living, neither their sons nor any other person can claim any interest in it. Under the old Mitakshara law, females were not eligible to become a co-partner. On and from the commencement of the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005, in a joint Hindu family governed by the Mitakshara law, the daughter of a co-partner shall, by birth, become a co-partner in her own right in the same manner as the son, have the same rights in the co-partnership property as she would have had if she had been a son, be subject to the same liabilities in respect of the said co-partnership property as that of a son. Any reference to a Hindu Mitakshara co-partner shall be deemed to include a reference to a daughter of a co-partner. Although in a Dayabhaga co-partnership there is no community of interest, yet there is unity of possession. When sons succeed to the property of their father and constitute a co-partnership, they take fixed share. Each co-partner is in possession of the entire property, even if he has no actual possession, as possession of one is possession of all. No one can claim any exclusive possession of property unless agreed upon by co-partners. Under the Dayabhaga school, all properties devolve by succession. Therefore, if a co-partner dies, his share does not pass by survivorship to other co-partners, but devolves by inheritance to his heirs. The doctrine of survivorship is not recognized under the Dayabhaga school. Prior to the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005, Section 6 of Hindu Succession Act 1956 provided that when a male Hindu dies after the commencement of this act, having at the time of his death an interest in a Mitakshara property, his interest in the property shall devolve by survivorship upon the surviving members of the copartnery, and not in accordance with this act. Provided that if the deceased had left him surviving a female relative specified in clause 1st of the schedule, or a male relative specified in that class who claims through such female relative the interest of the deceased in the Mitakshara copartnery property, shall devolve by testamentary or intestate succession, as the case may be, under this act, and not by survivorship. Pre-amendment position was that Section 6 dealt with copartnery interest of a male Hindu only, but by amending Act of 2005, females too have become copartners. Briefly, the changes in the Mitakshara law introduced by amending Act of 2005 are as: females have become copartners according to Clause A, subsection 1st of Section 6. Females have the same rights in the copartnery property as she would have had if she had been son. Females are subject to the same liabilities in respect of the said copartnery property as that of a son. Any reference to a Hindu Mitakshara copartner in Hindu Succession Act 1956 as amended by Act of 2005 is deemed to include a reference to daughter of a copartner. Any property to which a female Hindu becomes entitled by virtue of becoming a copartner shall be held by her with the incidents of copartnery ownership. Nothing contained in this section shall apply to a partition which has been effected before the 20th day of December 2004. For the purposes of this section, partition means any partition made by execution of a deed of partition duly registered. Such property to which she becomes entitled by virtue of becoming a copartner shall be property capable of being disposed of by her by testamentary disposition according to Section 30. The amending Act of 2005 has abrogated the rule of survivorship. Under the old Mitakshara law, on the death of copartner, his interest passes by survivorship immediately to other copartners, with the result that on his death he leaves behind nothing. Subsection 3 of Section 6 of Amending Act states that where a Hindu dies after the commencement of the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005, his interest in the property of a joint Hindu family governed by the Mitakshara law shall devolve by testamentary or intestate succession, as the case may be under this act, and not by survivorship. Classification of property. Old Mitakshara law recognizes the obstructed and unobstructed heritage, wherein both joint family property and self-acquired property was possible. As against this, the Dayabhaga school does not recognize this classification. Under the Dayabhaga school, the unobstructed heritage is not recognized. All heritage under the Dayabhaga law is obstructed heritage. When a person inherits property from any other relation, such as maternal or paternal uncle or brother, nephew, etc., then it is known as obstructed heritage, and his son or son's son or son's son's son, or for that matter any other person, does not acquire an interest by birth. The obstructed heritage devolves by inheritance. The holder of obstructed heritage holds it so long as he is living and has absolute right of alienation over it. He may gift it inter vivos, or by will he may sell it or mortgage it. According to the Dayabhaga, all heritage is obstructed, for according to the doctrine of that school, no person not even a son takes an interest by birth in the property of another. On the other hand, the division of property into joint family or co-partnership property and separate or self-acquired property is recognized, and practically all the heads of co-partnership property and separate property under the Mitakshara school also exist under the Dayabhaga school. Thus, the co-partnership property may consist of ancestral property, joint acquisitions, property thrown into common stock, accretions, etc. In the same manner, the self-acquired property may consist of self-exertions or gains of learning, government grants, lost property recovered, income of separate property, share on partition, etc. Ancestral property. Broadly speaking, any property inherited from any ancestor or ancestors may be called ancestral property. But that is not the sense in which the term is used in Hindu law. In fact, it is this broad meaning of the term that has led to some confusion. Property inherited from paternal ancestor. All property inherited by a male Hindu from his father or father's father or father's father's father is ancestral property. Property inherited from maternal grandfather. The property inherited by a person from his or her maternal grandfather is not an ancestral property. The property inherited from collaterals, including the maternal grandfather, will not be an ancestral property. It is after the death of the father that the sons may, agreeably to the modern view of the ancestral property, really become members of a joint family. According to the theory of the Bengal school, they become tenants in common and not joint tenants in respect of the estate inherited by them from their father. But still their interest remains common as long as the family continues joint, community of interest being the criterion of jointness in both the schools. The agreement forming the foundation of reunion proves the true nature and character of joint family property under the Bengal school, notwithstanding the title of the co-heirs being in severalty. As regards what constitutes joint property, the enjoyment of the same by the members, the management of the trading manager's powers, and the presumptions, the law appears generally to be the same in the Bengal school as under the Mitakshara. In Biswa Ranjan Sarvaadhikari versus Income Tax Officer, Justice Sinha observed, I quote, "While property is owned by two or more persons governed by the Dayabhaga school of Hindu law, and while their shares are definite and ascertainable, then although they are in joint possession, the tax will be ascertained on the basis of the share of the income in the hands of the assessee and not as of a Hindu undivided family." Unquote. Commissioner of Income Tax versus Bani Rani Rudra. In the instant case, the son and widow of a Hindu inherited properties of the deceased under the Dayabhaga system of law, read with subsection 1st of section 3 of the Hindu Women's Right to Property Act 1937 and section 14 of Hindu Succession Act 1956, and each of them became entitled to a definite 1/2 share in the property inherited. In these circumstances, it was held that the share of each of them in the income from the house properties should be included in his or her individual total income for the purposes of assessment of income tax. Property jointly acquired by co-partners. When co-partners jointly acquire some property, without the aid and assistance of the joint family funds or property, then the presumption is that the property so acquired is joint family property. However, if it is established that the co-partners wanted to acquire the property as their joint property, then such property will be joint property. Property thrown into common stock and blended property. Since under Hindu law, a Hindu male may hold his separate property as well as an interest in the joint family property, what can happen is that he may deal with both properties together, or by his act or conduct may throw his separate property into the joint property. This is known as throwing into the common stock. Blending is also an expression for the same thing. When two properties, joint family property and the separate properties, are mixed together, it is known as blending. Recovered joint family property. When some joint family property is lost and some co-partner recovers it without the aid and assistance of the fund of the joint family, it can be treated as a self-acquired property of that co-partner. Karta. The position of Karta is sui generis. The relationship between him and other members are not that of principal or agent or partners. He is head of the family and acts on behalf of other members. Karta stands in a fiduciary relationship with other members, but he is not trustee. The eldest male member is ordinarily the Karta of the co-partnery. The Karta's powers and liabilities and Karta's powers of alienation of property under the Dayabhaga school are the same as that of the Mitakshara Karta. The main difference between the Mitakshara Karta's powers and Dayabhaga Karta's powers is that the latter must render full accounts at all times whenever required to do so by any co-partner, while the former is required to render accounts only on partition. As every Dayabhaga co-partner takes a defined share in the co-partnery property, he is entitled to make any use he likes of his share in the joint family property. Similarly, he has full right of alienation of his share in the co-partnery property. He may dispose of it by gift, sale, or mortgage. He may even lease out the property if he is in its actual possession. The Karta of the joint family is responsible to maintain all members of the family, co-partners, and others. If he improperly excludes any member from maintenance or does not properly maintain them, he can be sued for maintenance as well as for arrears of maintenance. He is also responsible for the marriage of all unmarried members. The Karta represents the family. He is its sole representative vis-a-vis the government and all outsiders, and in that capacity, he has to discharge many responsibilities and liabilities on behalf of the family. He has to pay taxes and other dues on behalf of the family, and he can be sued for all his dealings on behalf of the family with outsiders. While concluding, it may be said that there is no presumption that joint family possesses joint property. It has been seen that normally a Hindu joint family is joint in estate, but there is no presumption that the properties held by a member of joint family are joint family properties. Under Dayabhaga school of law, the foundation of co-partnery is laid on the death of the father. After 2005, rule of survivorship stands abolished under Mitakshara law. The Karta's powers and liabilities and Karta's powers of alienation of property under the Dayabhaga school are same as that of the Mitakshara Karta. The main difference between the Mitakshara Karta's powers and Dayabhaga Karta's powers is that the latter must render full accounts at all times, whenever required to do so by any co-partner, while the former is required to render accounts only on partition. With this, I conclude this lecture. Hope you have understood fully. Thank you.